Today I'm going to be going over the worst die in Zelda games to think of. I'll be going from one not so bad right to the bone-chilling worst. So let's get right into it. Dying in The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds is actually considered one of the best ways to do so in the series. In fact, it might not even be a confirmed death, just a game over. The character Ravio rents Link items in the game, and when Link dies, he collects the items that you're borrowing from him and brings them right back to his shop, where you'll respawn. This presents the fact that you might not have actually died, but rather he dragged you back to his shop too, so you could have been saved. But regardless of whether you're actually dead or not, the main reason I'm including this on this list of bad deaths is because, well, all your items get taken from you and you have to buy them back again. Like, that is not fun. The Gorons are generally one of the most popular races in Zelda games, and it's no wonder why, with their always positive but also comical attitudes. However, there's a darker side to the Goron. In some games they can actually flat out murder Link. The most noticeable example of this is for me Twilight Princess, where the Gorons have holed themselves up in Death Mountain, refusing access to anyone else and attacking on sight. In order to scale the mountain you need the iron boots to be able to withstand the raw power of the Gorons. However, even then, they still pose a risk and you can be killed. Another example of this, albeit without as bad intent on the Goron's part, is Breath of the Wild. Some Gorons can be found wielding weapons and, well, if you provoke them, suffice to say it won't end well for you if you're on low health. The world of The Wind Waker is probably one of the brightest and happiest in the entire Zelda series. I mean, hell, even the main villain doesn't want to actually kill you, he just wants the Triforce that you have. Despite this, there is one area in the game which has a darker turn, that being the Earth Temple. These perilous ancient catacombs are home to swarms of undead and cursed enemies. However, also something else. Coffins. There are lots and lots of coffins placed vertically against the walls down the ever-foreboding corridors. Walking near one will cause a lid to fall over, crushing anything in front of it. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the death I'm referring to. Being crushed by a coffin is just so ironic that it would be one of the last things you would want to actually be remembered for. Speaking of dark underground dungeons though, we can go one more up. The Shadow Temple is possibly the darkest dungeon in the entire Zelda series. Maybe not literally, but certainly figuratively. It's full of some of the scariest enemies to ever grace the series, as well as tons and tons of traps. But to top this off, a large proportion of all of that is completely invisible to the naked eye. There's just so many terrible ways that you can die down here, so rather than list them all separately, I've just put this all as one single point. Although this might be a Halloween video, I've talked about dark spooky dungeons enough for now, so let's move on to a lighter topic. Ragdoll. In Breath of the Wild, depending on the way you take damage, Link has the potential to go into Ragdoll mode and bounce around limp with a physics engine. This is especially effective on cliffs, and anyway, many of us consider this one of the best, most hilarious ways to die, and myself included, but we're actually being quite sadistic here. I mean, if you think about it, Link's literally falling along the side of a cliff, bashing into it all the time, taking tons and tons. He's probably broken all his bones by the time he hits the bottom, and then he just flat out dies. Like, that must be such a painful way to die, and why are we all sat here laughing at it? Yeah, basically this gets us put on the list too. A lot of you probably already know this one, with the release of Link's Awakening Switch having been not that long ago, so I'll keep it short, but I'm still going to go over it since it's certainly worthy of a pick on this list. Basically, if you steal from a shop and then return, the shopkeeper will blast Link with a laser, killing him no matter what. I consider this to be a bad way to die because, well, firstly you're caught stealing, so you just failed flat out, but then secondly, it denies you the actual secret ending of the game, which you get if you get a no-death run, and well, I won't spoil the ending itself, but not getting it is actually kind of sad story-wise, so you wanna get it. A death to Malice is not a nice one. In fact, it's very, very far from a nice one. It's a horrible one. Once in the Malice, it's very easy to be stuck there forever. The evil substance will grab onto your feet and keep you held there. All the meanwhile, you'll slowly but painfully die from damage from the substance. By the end of it, your body will be nothing but another evil monster, under the grip of Ganon's evil will. This would truly be a terrible fate for Link, the hero of Hyrule. Whilst heading towards Hyrule Castle in Four Swords Adventures, the four Links will find a young girl in need of help, Malon. As it so turns out, she's unable to get home, with the soldiers from the castle having suddenly turned evil, all pointing their bows and cannons at her. So it falls to the Links to safely escort her back home. However, should they not do well enough, it is actually possible for Malon to die, sadly. I find this particular death to be pretty tragic because, well, not just the four Links dying, but also they failed to protect a young child, and, you know, that's kinda sad. Throughout the Legend of Zelda series, there are many bottomless pits which can be found. Now normally when you fall down one of these, the game just deducts some life from you and then puts you back up to the top, but this is just for the sake of the game being playable. Speaking realistically, if Link fell down one of those pits, he'd just be doomed to fall eternally. I mean, yeah, it might have a bottom and he might land, but speaking for this video, they are bottomless, and if he fell down them, he'd be falling eternally, and well, that would be not a nice way to die at all. Just endlessly falling, and either you would have to just stay there forever until you die of old age, or slowly try and push yourself towards the edge of a cliff whilst you're falling, and then take damage and probably die. Now we're really starting to get into the nasty ones at this point, pretty honestly, so let's go straight to Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. If you don't know the basic plot, suffice to say, all the enemies are out to kill Link, so that they can use his blood to bring back Ganon from the dead. Now, a lot of Zelda games will of course have Link's death indirectly resulting in Ganon being successful, but in the case of this game, Link's death is literally the cause of Ganon returning and taking over Hyrule. And the game sure does taunt you about this with the game over screen it has as well. So that's why I put this as number 4 on the list. Many of you that have played Breath of the Wild, or hell, even those of you that have just watched gameplay of it, will no doubt know about the flower-obsessed woman Magda. If you even so dares to touch one of her flowers, she'll have a fit and start shouting at Link. But do it 3 times, and she'll go berserk and attack Link, causing the screen to go black, and well, you'll just wake up with less health. However, if you do this right at the start of the game when you're low on heart containers, you can actually just flat out murder you in cold blood, all over some flowers. And man, oh man, it must be embarrassing for the best knight in Hyrule to be killed by a gardener. Ever been in the middle of fighting a Lionel, or using a flying machine, and your batteries suddenly run out? Although this isn't exactly a method by which Link does die, it sure is an annoying cause which leads to one. Having a controller disconnect whilst playing a game is always annoying. In fact, I've had issues with that playing games on stream recently. However, having a controller disconnect whilst playing a game result in your death, and then having to start over, it's all the much more worse. So yeah, basically this gets second because I don't like dying because my controller disconnected. Have you ever just looked out of your window and suddenly noticed that the moon is about to crush you and everything you know? Yeah, no, I haven't either. Link, however, has. The world of Termina in Majora's Mask is about to be crushed by the moon, being forcefully pulled down by the Skull Kid, and it's your duty to stop him from doing so, and save the land. Now Link does have the ability to reverse time and avoid death, so he can try all again. However, not every player seems to like Link and the world of Termina so much. And basically if you don't stop the moon or travel back in time, Termina gets squashed by the moon. And a really cheerful cutscene happens, ending with the happy mask salesman laughing at your terrible fate, which you've suffered. Basically, I consider an entire world getting flattened worse than any of the other ones here, so this gets number 1. Anyway, if you did enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe, or whatever it is other YouTubers say to do, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!